This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Texas introducing an artist who is on a mission to prove that creativity isn't just about what you put on a canvas, it's about who you become in the process. She is an abstract expressionist, a powerhouse educator, and the creator of the Honest Art Method. The vibrant and unapologetic Jodie King, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Jodie, before you were a world-renowned artist and educator, you had a career basically in marketing, entrepreneurism. Was there kind of a breaking point or an awakening that made you realize you were made to trade all that in and really go for the brush? Did that shift kind of change your identity?
It totally changed my identity. When you're in the world of entrepreneurship, it is really very outwardly faced. What can I do to serve the customer, the community, all of that. When I picked up a paintbrush, this was 23 years ago, that became something that was just mine. And it created a presence within myself that I hadn't had before. So that was the huge shift that happened for me accidentally, by the way. And it was more from an internal focus rather than an external focus.
Interesting. Like you said, that was yours. Your work is famous for its incredible high vibe color palettes. Does your choice of color really come from maybe a technical place, or are you literally painting the frequency of the emotions that you're feeling in that moment?
That's a great question. So when I have actually copywritten a color mixing method because I really believe that as artists, we choose our colors best when we're choosing them intuitively rather than from some method that was told to us. Like, in other words, you have to only use complementary colors or you only use certain colors in certain situations. So the way I teach it is, but what are you feeling and how can you bring that to it? So it's an intuitive way to choose colors. So whatever ends up on the canvas is something that, again, happens from the inside. And I heard this saying once that I just loved, and that is that we are the faucet, but we're not the water. And so if we open ourselves up to the water, which is that creativity, and allow that to flow, we will always make better art. So when I choose colors, I try to remember, just listen, be present enough to get the water.
What a great analogy that you provide, in the faucet, the water. So when you stand in front of a blank canvas, I mean, do you have a plan? Or are you waiting for the paint to kind of tell you where it needs to go? And do you teach others maybe to stop overthinking and start trusting themselves and their intuition?
Yeah, so I want to say I am the biggest overthinker. It's just like I relate to the overthinking artist so much, which is why I love this honest art process. So I don't have a plan, and that is really, really intentional. And so, one of the things that I teach is if we have an attachment to the outcome too soon, then we don't allow for that magic that happens so much. Like, every artist will know what I'm talking about. Like, there are times where you just step back and you go, holy crap, how did that happen? Well, if we are attached to the outcome too soon, like you can come with a bit of a plan. It depends on what you're doing. You can think, okay, I want a little this, a little that, but an overall, like, total attachment to it, we limit what the possibilities are when we do that. We limit ourselves because we grow as I'm going to say, as artists. I have a belief that we are all artists. I know that's a bit controversial. There are a lot of engineers out there that would disagree with me. But we limit our art, we limit ourselves when we think we know exactly what's going to happen.
I agree with you. I think everyone has a little bit of art in them. We all have that side of our brain. Well, maybe we're not tapping into it as much as we think we are. For those of us out there who aren't artists, can you kind of explain how pushing through that messy, frustrating middle part of a canvas is what you say is a metaphor for navigating the ugly stages of our own lives? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So Adam Grant years ago said that there are 6 stages of the creative process, and boy, I latched onto that. And the creative process, it starts with saying, "This is going to be awesome," and then step 2 is, "This is tricky," and step 3 is, "This is crap," and step 4 is, "I am crap," and step 5 is, "Wait, this might work," and step 6 is, "This is awesome." So it's an inverse arc. And when you can anticipate, especially when you approach the canvas with art, if you can anticipate, I'm going to get to that point where it's so hard. And I'm going to look at it and think, who am I to do this? What did I think? Who do I think I was to do this? Right. And know that that's not the point where we stop. That's the point where we celebrate and say, look at the courage that I have had to keep going in this process. And know that if we just keep going, we can, with some skills, some training, especially with art, we can get our way out of that stuck place. And what I learned was this creative process aided me in my life. It was like, oh, wait, like when you go into a marriage, everybody thinks this is great, this is awesome, and then it gets tricky, right? And then it's go open a business. This is going to be great. This is awesome. It's life. It's going to happen. And when we can get to the really, really hard, we don't give up. We're just saying, this might work. If we could just get to this might work.
It's kind of crazy. You're right. Because, like you say, in a marriage, in a business, and in art, when it gets to that tough point, that's where the magic really happens. I mean, you have to be willing to be patient for that. Speaking of ugly stages, you mentioned that art saved you during some of your darkest times. How does the physical act of moving paint across the surface kind of act as a form of somatic healing or even therapy for you?
Yeah, so that's so true. It absolutely did save me. I have worked with thousands of artists, and I've seen it have the same impact with them. So just like fear, stress, it gets inside our bodies, and I'm sure a lot of people know that the book "The Body Keeps the Score." So it's in our bodies. So when I paint and when I teach others to paint, it is a very physical process. Now, it's important to know that I don't paint small, right? So I don't have a paintbrush and I'm just moving my wrist. A lot of people paint small like that. I paint, on a little bit larger canvases, right? And so that becomes a very physical process. And when I am present and not overthinking, and I am just getting those marks on there and getting the paint on there, and I'm just allowing whatever, like, just to come out, it's gonna go bad, right? It's the creative process. Just stay with it, and all of that allows it to come out of our body, and it comes out in a way that it's like it cleanses ourselves. It is absolutely fascinating to see what happens. And oftentimes I step back and I think, what was that? What just happened
What
here?
just happened?
And it's not always pretty. That doesn't mean it's like, when that happens, it's a beautiful piece of art. But I then know what to do to kind of work with it, and and refine it. But what is already happening, healing rather, has already happened within me.
Wow. I mean, so you're kind of astounded by it yourself sometimes. You step back
Oh,
and go,
always.
holy moly, I mean, you almost, something's working through me at the same time.
Yeah,
Physiology's
absolutely.
happening. That,
Absolutely. It's
that
remarkable. It's miraculous, really.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe it would be. That's part of art right there. You've coined the term the honest art method. In a world where so many people are trying to paint what they think will sell, what does it actually mean to create honest art? And is it probably harder than it sounds?
It is harder than it sounds. And the reason it's harder than it sounds is because if you are, like I say, if you're called to paint, like I'm not called to garden. I can kill a plant in 2 seconds. That's just not my calling. I appreciate it, but it's not my calling. So if we are called to paint, I believe that there is something that needs to be created through us, right? And it's not something that we need to imitate that someone has already done. So it's not like, the like spirit universe, whatever you want to call it. It's not like that. Hey, could you go copy something that somebody else does? Because listen, I have done it. Artists love art. And so when we first start, especially, we first start by trying to emulate other artists' work. And I can tell you from my own experience, it seems like, oh, this will be so easy. I'll just emulate that artist's work. And it always falls flat. Always, always. There's no energy attached to it. There's just no passion in it. And it shows in the work. So honest art is art that only can be made by you in the moment. And when I say in the moment, I'm saying that because there are some pieces that I have done, like I've stepped back and I go, oh my, how did that happen? Right. And so when I return to the canvas, I try to do something like that again. And that's not honest art. It never works. So honest art is the work that only you can create in that moment. And that is where the true magic happens. I teach it by getting people in a room, and we talk first. We get to know each other, then we meditate. We get really, really present, and from that space, we approach the canvas.
My daughter just won an art award last month. We didn't even know she had a talent for art. And honestly, I think as a child, we're able to create that honest art more than adults.
Absolutely.
I mean, she just went at it. She was, she didn't even know she was in a contest. We just told her, go ahead and put something together, and it was beautiful. To help others, you built a massive online academy. From a mini course to the 6-month Studio Elite Mastermind. Is it exciting to witness transformations really in an artist when they stop trying to paint like someone else and they finally give themselves permission to be unique, weird, or maybe even imperfect?
It's the truly the best feeling in the world. So in the membership, the Honest Art Society, I get to see artists who have just picked up a paintbrush. Like it doesn't matter whether when the Honest Art Society, we can have people who just picked up a paintbrush to people who've been painting for years and years and years. And it's that's kind of symbiosis that really helps. But to see somebody who's like, I'm just in here because I want to just learn what to do. And then they follow along with people who have, because the Honest Art Society, we also teach people how to sell their work and how to apply for things and exhibitions and things. And so to watch people, not necessarily just to sell their work, but to come alive, because they start building more confidence. They start having a stronger sense of self, because they're getting this feedback and they're like, oh, maybe my stuff isn't crap. maybe it's actually pretty good. And they're realizing that came from them. It's incredible. And then it's also amazing to watch these artists truly begin to make a living, not there's no starving artists in my world. So to truly make a living doing what they love, it's the absolute ultimate.
Speaking of starving artists, not only on the canvas, but you are very passionate about the business side of art. Why do you think the starving artist trope is so prevalent? And do you teach your students to embrace that art biz without feeling like they're maybe compromising their soul?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I was one of the kids, and when in elementary school, in fact, it was third grade, that was told by my art teacher, "You're not an artist. You might as well stop here." And so it just kills me, and I hear these stories all the time. And so I didn't. I never took an art class after that. I didn't. I'm not in high school. Nothing. I took nothing like that. But I became an entrepreneur, right? And I started building businesses and just doing what I love. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I picked up a paintbrush, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I love this so much. Why don't I turn it into a business? Now, because I never had any aspirations to be an artist when I was younger, I wasn't indoctrinated into the starving artist trope. Nobody told me, well, that's not going to work. You better get a real job. No, I just didn't hear it. So I just assumed this is like any other business. I'll just apply these business and marketing skills to my art, to my, and it worked. I just didn't buy into it because I never really heard it. And then it was only later that people are like, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm like, well, it's a
How
business.
how thankful we are for things we never heard so that we didn't have to unlearn them. I mean, a teacher telling somebody you're not an artist. I mean, I can see you telling them maybe you're not a basketball player if you're 4 foot tall, but an artist, I mean, come on, that's really hard to define that. You've taken artists on retreats to places like Italy and France. What happens to a person's creativity when you strip away their daily responsibilities and you put them in a beautiful foreign environment with a paintbrush in their hand?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what you're saying. It takes away, you don't have to go empty the dishwasher. You don't have to pick up your kids from school. You don't like it takes away all of those things. And the priority is just you and your own experience. And a little wine doesn't help, by the way. you know,
Definitely.
but I'm sorry, it doesn't hurt rather. It again, it just becomes, especially for, I mean, it's just for men and women alike. But I primarily have women that come on my retreats. And so just to see a woman focus just on herself and her creativity and being present and appreciating the beauty of where we are, along with the community of other artists. I feel like whether they go on a retreat with me or anyone else, I highly suggest just to get away and to do this for yourself.
That is excellent. Like you say, you take away the daily disturbances, a little bit of wine, possibly relaxation. Some of the best music is made when you're totally relaxed. When someone buys a Jodie King original, I mean, they aren't just buying a decor, they're buying a piece really of your energy. Is there
Yeah.
almost a spiritual connection between the artist and the collector? And do you enjoy meeting your buyers when you get to?
Yes, I absolutely believe that there is a spiritual connection between the artist and the collector. And the thing is that we do know that everything is energy and like attracts like. So when we are making honest art, remember, so this is key, is the work that we made has to be honest, because that's where it's the highest energy vibration and the truest vibration of ourselves that gets transferred to the painting. And then when somebody comes through, and my paintings aren't for everybody. No, like, and so what I try to do is to not be vanilla, not just because then nobody
Yeah.
wants that. So to be really clear about who you are as an artist, really clear about your work. And then that is like it's like a magnet. The right people become the collectors to your work. And it's so great. Like I love going, I will often hang the art in the collector's home. It's so fun for me to meet them. I just feel like they always have this vibrant personality, and I can see that there is this connection between like a positiveness and optimism, and it's not Pollyanna. It is real and true, and I feel like, how lucky am I that these people connected to my work? Like that is such a gift to me, to mirror that back to me. It's just beautiful.
I think it's great. I studied the artist Prince for many years, and he did some great stuff at the beginning, but then he was able to focus on what he really loved, and some of his best work came out of that. And like you say, it doesn't resonate for everyone, but there are individuals that it will resonate with and will be very strong. Jodie, at the end of the day, when someone sees a Jodie King painting or takes one of your classes, what is the one seed that you hope you've planted in their heart about their own creative potential?
Well, my mission is to help people become the truest, highest version of themselves through the use of art and creativity. So that is the thing that I get to witness, and that I hope for everyone, is that we can begin to peel away any of the masks or the protective layers that we have put on for years and years. And through art and creativity, we can just become that vibrant, true person. And you know what? Sometimes that takes getting angry on the canvas. That's okay. Sometimes it takes like the full range of emotion on the canvas. Beautiful. That's fine, because what will eventually happen is that painting will alchemize into something amazing, and we then begin to alchemize as well. So that to me is the highest calling that I have, and the gift that I hope I'm able to impart to others.
I think there's a business there somewhere. I'm thinking in my head of these companies that let you throw axes, that let you go in
Yes.
and grab things and punch them up. Can you imagine a business where you actually go in and you're able to just express yourself on these huge canvases? I think that's great. I love your story. I love your
Thank
story.
you.
I'm so glad to share it out there with my viewers. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website, where you can learn more about this, really a bit of a rebel in the art world who has helped thousands of artists worldwide move past their fear and into their flow. You can see her courses, the calendar, and her podcast right there on her website. Once again, that is Jodie King, showing us how to live a life as bold and colorful as her canvases. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.